Hi. Good afternoon. I want to first of all thank everyone who came here, all the mentors and parents. Yeah, without you guys, this program wouldn't be possible. My name is Vranch Yadav. I got to be a part of this program this year. I had a great time. Um, this year in Compass, we spent, I think it was 305 hours together in total. During this time, we had created a one-of-a-kind environment where everyone learned each other's strengths and weaknesses and everyone supported each other. Throughout the semester, we visited 15 different sites, ranging from corporate offices to factories of various industries to even the Federal Reserve. Here, we got to see business and economic principles in play and got to ask many, many questions. We also hosted 21 guest speakers who gave us an expert look on topics such as marketing, finance, and even comic book reselling. Additionally, we worked on 10 charter projects in teams. This gave us an opportunity to do high stakes work for actual companies / clients. Today, each charter project will be giving us a synopsis of what they did. Starting us off is Reach for Resources. And then these are the companies that we did the charters with.
Thank you so much for all being here today. For our charter project, we worked with a nonprofit organization called Reach for Resources, and they provide service and support to individuals with disabilities right here in Minnesota. I'm Carly Kren, and my role for this project was the communicator, and next year I will be attending the University of Iowa, majoring in marketing.
My name is Vranch Yadav. I was the group leader for this project. Next year, I will be attending the University of Minnesota to major in Management Information Systems.
And I'm Lucas Bodo. I was the project administrator for this group, and I am going to Iowa State next year for supply chain management.
Reach for Resources empowers people of all abilities to help them reach their full potential, and they have been doing this for over 35 years. They provide services for over 1,400 children, families, and adults, and their services include adaptive recreation, employment support, and counseling. As you can see on the map, most of their service is done right here in the Twin Cities, and where they are located, and that is in Minnetonka.
So for our deliverables for the project, we first had to analyze their current lease, see whether they were getting a good deal for how much they were paying, see how much other companies in the building were paying, as well as other buildings in the area, just kind of give a pros and cons of like their current property. Our next deliverable was to then establish a business case. We broke this up into a couple parts. We first gave them an overview of just the whole commercial real estate market on like a national level to like a local level, as well as gave them insight on trends that we're seeing in commercial real estate loans if they would like to buy a property. And then we did a pro-con analysis of buying versus leasing a new property. And then lastly, we did some property research, and we also researched some opportunities that they have for like grants and tax credits and things of that nature. And then our third deliverable was the communication strategy. How should they communicate the changes that will occur to all their stakeholders, whether that's the people supported or their employees? And then we summed all of this up in a final recommendation that we presented to them last Friday. So here are a few examples of our work. You can see the executive summary from the business case. It just kind of breaks down everything we did. There are two of the properties that we had recommended them for lease options. Up top, you have Crosstown Woods. The reason we recommended this one was because 40,000 of the 52,000 square feet was available in the property, meaning going into negotiations, Reach for Resources would have a lot of leverage since most of the building's empty. And then underneath, we had 2 Apple Tree Square. This was definitely the biggest like bang for your buck property. It was definitely one of the cheaper ones. And then lastly, you can see our appendix slide page. We had to shorten it down to one page with QR codes to the Google Drive because I think with all of the research we had done, each one of our appendixes was like 200 pages, just with like real estate brochures and things of that nature.
We faced several challenges throughout our project, and we had to work hard to overcome these. One of the largest was when we were searching for purchase properties to recommend Reach. The market for purchase properties, especially in the area they were asking for, was very small, and especially for the size they were asking for was even fewer. So we had to work to find properties that would fit their needs. Next, we had to try to schedule visits on properties we were looking at, and us being high school students, many of the landlords didn't want to use time to visit with us, so we had to find ways to overcome that, find ways to make sure we got these visits to make sure the properties that we were looking at would fit our client. And finally, at the beginning, we had some issues communicating within our group. Several of our communication channels weren't working. One person wasn't getting the texts. So over time, we had to overcome, and we found other ways of communicating.
Yeah. Another issue we were having as far as communication went was we all are busy with extracurriculars and being able to schedule meetings where all three of us could attend, as well as the fact that often it felt like every day at least one of us was gone. So that definitely hampered our communication.
Several of our successes were we maintained effective communication with the client. We had several meetings throughout our project, and we made sure these meetings were informative and that we were going the right direction to what our client would like to see for our final project. Another success was how we adapted to changes. Just a few weeks before our final presentation, their building went up on the market for sale, and this could mean a huge change for our project because we don't know what the new owner was going to do with the building, whether they were going to convert it to residential or if they were going to kick out the clients. So we had to make a dramatic shift in our presentation.
Throughout our journey as a group, we grew a lot, and in class, we learned a lot about how to lead a team successfully, and we all led each other in order to be successful for our project. We also took the DISC assessment in class, which shows you your color energies, and we were able to learn a lot about our strengths and weaknesses in order to help each other out. And we also learned many lessons. We learned that it is very, very important to communicate with each other and always ask questions and not wait and do it right away.
So some of our takeaways were to really take your time and ensure quality. Early on in the project, it felt like we were working a little bit in 5 different directions rather than focusing all of our efforts into one deliverable at a time. So that's definitely something we'll do in future projects. Another takeaway we had is to just always look things up anytime you're confused, or always ask questions whenever you're in a meeting with any experts. Oftentimes they'll use lingo or jargon, which is industry specific, that you may not always understand. So it's essential that you understand everything they're talking about to get a clear picture. And then some of the connections we saw to real life were to always network. Our main connect that we got at CBRE, he's actually the vice president of CBRE. It was through one of Lucas's mutual friends, and that was super special because he gave us a lot of high quality reports on properties, which let us present a far more details and just understand the real estate market a lot better. And then the other connection was to just in general stay detail oriented, always dig deeper into any point you're going to be presenting. Thank you all for listening. Next up is Kelly Enterprise.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. As Ron said, we are the Kelly Enterprise Group, and we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Daryl Zhao. I was a team leader for this group project, and next year I'll be attending Northwestern University with a double major in biomedical engineering and economics.
My name is Sydney Hentz. I was the communicator for our group, and I'll be studying finance at Indiana University next year.
And my name is Tyler Gullickson. I was the research organizer of the group. Next year I'll be going to the University of Iowa to study finance.
Yeah, so just for a quick overview of what Kelly Enterprise is. Kelly Enterprise is a window and door distributor here based in Roseville, Minnesota. They deal primarily in high-end residential and commercial buildings. So if you think of downtown Wayzata, like Lake Minnetonka, all those $1 million high-end homes, those are the kinds of windows and doors that they deal. And for commercial buildings, they also deal with a lot of commercial window installation, commercial door installation in both downtown Minneapolis and downtown Wayzata. And as you can see in these pictures, those are some their past projects that they've completed with their clients.
Yeah, so we have 5 main deliverables for our project, and the gist of it was just to research the Nashville area as a whole. We had to rank the counties, we looked into a few different certifications, and we also analyzed the competition in the Nashville area.
Yeah, so our work was primarily revolved around economic research, and a big way we did that was through primary interviews. So those two gentlemen you see on the screen, the left one, he's actually the VP of Research at the Greater Nashville Chamber of Commerce. And he gave us great insights beyond sort of the numbers and economic data of Tennessee. For example, one snippet that he gave that was really helpful was Williamson County, which is one of the locations that we were researching, is mostly rural land, and therefore there's lots of demand for real estate development, and therefore lots of demand for window and door distribution. And then after that, we also did a county analysis and ranking. So we looked at those 6 counties right there, and we ranked them based on how well the economy is, based on our needs. And then we also interviewed a person from the FGIA to really understand what that certification does for all of their accredited instructors and what that sort of means in terms of a client's perspective. And then we looked into licensing and then competitor analysis.
All right, so to kind of go further more than just the interviews. So the interviews kind of gave us a good base analysis of what counties to kind of look into. We want to dive more into like an economic research. So we based off 9 economic metrics, and then by county, there were 6 counties we researched. We gave it point values. So if you won the category, so let's say population, the green Davidson won, so they got 6 points, and then the next best would be 5 points, and so far all the way down to 1 point. So eventually we came to the conclusion that Williamson County was the number 1. Davidson, Sumner, Wilson, Rutherford, and Robertson followed. And this kind of gave us a base economic based on metrics of which counties were at the top.
Yeah, so we had a few different challenges during our project, just like every group did, but a big one for us was phone interviews. We interviewed a lot of people over the phone, and sometimes it wasn't super helpful. We were calling the wrong people, or the wrong people were answering the phone, and it kind of ended up being a time waster during some parts. But we ended up getting a lot of really helpful information from other interviews, which was really nice. And then also, our communication between group members was great during the project, but we struggled a lot to communicate with our client from the beginning. We knew what we thought he wanted, but it would have been better if we just asked him what he wanted so he could tell us, so that there wasn't the Tyler thinks that he wants one thing and Daryl thinks he wants a different thing from what he's telling us. But we contacted him more throughout the process, and communication got a lot more consistent. And then the last thing was we talked about some different contracts. So I'm pretty sure that nobody in this room has ever heard of the FGIA before, which is the Fenestration, Glazing, and Industry Alliance, which is kind of the point. Like, it's really hard to research. There's not a lot of information about it. I mean, we scrolled through so much time on their website. We called a ton of different people, and we got one phone interview that ended up being a lot of the information for most of our project. So we had one source for a third of our work. And then we also had many successes on our project. So Tyler showed you a few slides ago the ranking that we did. Our research was extremely objective and data oriented. So there wasn't a lot of room for our own opinion when we were giving our final presentation. It was, these are the numbers and this is the order based on the census and whatever other sources that we used. It wasn't, we think that this would be great, or like, it wasn't our own opinions. And then I know I mentioned that communication was a struggle at first, but it ended up being one of our biggest successes during the project because we had great communication with each other, and we really played on what our own strengths were during the project to work with each other. And then, like I said, too, our communication with Kelly Enterprise got a lot better throughout the project. And then our last success was, like I said, we all worked really well together, which meant that we all did equal amounts of work and we all knew what we were doing. Nobody in our group was slacking, which was really nice.
Yeah, and we obviously through this project it was really educational, not just from learning about the housing window market, but just some general life skills that we've taken. So some applications to class, as you may know, we learned a lot about management in class, so effective communication, effective leadership, and being able to hold everybody accountable. We were able to experience all that in real time throughout this project. We had to figure out what an effective method of communicating was, right? So maybe if I want to talk to Sydney, I'd rather text her rather than email. But if I wanted to talk to our charter leader, I'd probably email him rather than text. And then managing a team as group lead, I really learned how to do this effectively. But even though I was the group lead, we all had to learn how to manage like each other, to know each other's strengths, know what we're good at, and therefore allocate tasks effectively. And then creating deadlines, we use Trello, so it's a great collaboration tool where we allocated tasks and set deadlines so we could hold each other accountable. And then some great lessons that we learned is that one, communication is key. There's no group project that's successful without successful communication. And then also team norming. You have to know who your group members are. You have to know what they're good at, what they're not so good at. And that way you know how to effectively allocate those tasks, especially like I probably wouldn't give Sydney a graphic design task. She likes finance, she likes logic. So I'd probably give her something that's more numbers related. And then Tyler, I'd probably give more of that graphic design piece. And then also combining all that knowledge so we can kind of combine both left brain and right brain skills together to create a good project in the end.
So next, through our journey, I want to go through kind of three biggest takeaways we got from this project and this class in general. The first being organizational skills. It was super important to stay organized, working on a project, and putting together slides for our final charter presentation. Also, professionalism was super huge. We had to dress up every single day, and we had to present in a professional manner and talk to people who have more knowledge than we do. And finally, kind of thinking outside the box. One example I'll give is in our final presentation, two of the people were not able to make it. So we had to figure out how to get them to zoom in while still having them be able to ask questions. And that was kind of a big, you had to kind of stepping stone to like think outside the box and not just sticking to the norm. And now kind of connecting this to more real life. The biggest connection to real life for me was through cold calling. I kind of learned that some people don't necessarily want to talk to you, and you kind of have to accept that. And you kind of, so when you're calling them, some people they're going to be really boring. And they're just going to kind of, you want to just get to the point, and other people you might have to chat a little bit. Just kind of learning to kind of go back and forth between that, whether you're going to kind of talk to them for a while or just go directly.
Yeah, and then a big connection to life for me was just being professional. I mean, the guy that we were working with has been in the window and door industry for over 50 years. Like, I do not know as much as he does. And during our final presentation, I was telling them, I was saying, we recommend this for you guys, or you guys would benefit from this. And then afterwards, he was like, yeah, in the future, don't say guys in your presentation. That's not professional. So, like, I agree with him, but it was really good to learn that. And now I know for future presentations, I'm not going to walk up to somebody and say, you guys should do this or you guys should do that.
Yeah, and I took away sort of a connection to life was how to have like an effective business meeting. I've had plenty of group hangouts with my friends, but like obviously, 80-year-old guy who's leading our project, like we don't want to be hey, what's up, right? Like we want to we want to show our professional side with them. So I learned at least how to communicate effectively, especially with someone who knows more than I do about an industry. It's really important to give them the impression that hey, I don't know as much as you, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do what it takes to kind of get that project going. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about our experience with Joy Collaborative.
My name is Bella Moore, and I was the mediator of the group. Next year, I'm going to be attending Texas Christian University and majoring in marketing.
And my name's Wayzata, and I was the communicator in the group, and I will be heading to the University of Iowa next fall to study human resource management.
And I'm Cole Halbrin. I was the project lead. I will be attending Loyola University Chicago next year and majoring in marketing.
Joy Collaborative is a nonprofit based in Minnesota, and they build joy sensory rooms for children with life-limiting conditions. Their newest product is their Joymobile, which is their mobile sensory room. And overall, they're trying to continue to grow their company as well as possibly franchising their Joymobile.
So for some of our deliverables, so when we met with our charter supervisors, they asked that we do a bunch of franchise research and figure out if the Joymobile is something that could be franchised at this time. And so we did a lot of work with legal as well as some budgeting financials and some prospect identification. We also looked at a variety of different case studies to see some other nonprofits that have successfully franchised. We also created some marketing material that Joy Collaborative can use now or in the future. And lastly, we looked at customer expectations and way that they can collect feedback at the state fair this summer.
Some of our work included creating a research report for them. This included all of our primary research, as well as additional research on franchising, alternate solutions, and even some case studies we found. We also created some social media posts, and we used some images of their Joymobile and just what they did as a company overall to help their customers feel more connected to their company. And then one last thing we did for them is create a survey for them to use at the Minnesota State Fair. This way they can collect customer feedback as well as promote their business to other people.
And then some of our successes throughout the project. Firstly, kind of what Bella just mentioned, we created future marketing and advertising material for this company. This includes both the Instagram posts, and then we also had a recommendation for a possible marketing video for their Joymobile. Another success that we had was we fully met all of our goals, and then also went above and beyond. So we met all of our deliverables that we talked about. And then we were also able to provide additional research to Joy Collaborative. Another success that we had was we also maintained a really great relationship with Joy Collaborative and the owners. So this includes like just working alongside them and just like developing that relationship and not being afraid to like ask for help. And then lastly, we worked really well as a team together. We all have a lot of skills that complement each other really well, and we were able to kind of direct those skills in the right way. And then some challenges. One of the biggest challenges we had was probably that one of the owners of Joy Collaborative like would frequently forget our names. So I think I was called Corey and Connor, and then Bella was called Emma, and then Elise also was not called by the right name. And then another challenge that we had was kind of our feasibility news. So one of our main deliverables was to inform Joy Collaborative whether or not their product, the Joymobile, could be franchised. And we ended up saying that they weren't quite ready for that yet, and that's kind of always hard to give the negative news, but we came through with that goal.
And then we could apply our work to our class by planning and organizing this project and just making sure we got everything done on time. Also working how to manage our group. We're all very different people, and that's kind of why our teachers put us in a group together. So we learned how to work really well together, as well as working on things that brought out each one of our strengths. And then another one was communication, and we learned really well how to communicate with one another. And all three of these were topics we talked a lot about in class, and we got to see firsthand how important they are in the real world.
And then we had a lot of really great key takeaways as well. Firstly, the importance of planning and kind of setting deadlines. It helps a lot with especially this type of project because we were able to meet our deadlines early on and then also go above and beyond. Another key takeaway was utilizing our resources and asking for help. So really not being afraid to ask for help. There were a few instances during our project when we kind of just needed some more guidance. So we weren't scared to ask Mark and Tony, the owners of Joy Collaborative, kind of for some guidance. And then time management and kind of that importance. Being able to, again, meet deadlines and manage your time well is very important in the efficiency of kind of the research during this project.
And so then looking at our connections to life, so one of our main connections was the teamwork that we used. We worked with each other for over 3 months and really just learning how to look at our weaknesses and strengths and really put them together to make a good team, as well as planning and organizing. Again, we learned how to use a variety of different project management tools during this project, which is something that we can continue to use in college and our workforce. And then lastly, we really learned how to communicate with adults. We had to talk to over 10 people through a bunch of different industries to get some primary research, and we really learned how to create questions to ask people that are older and much higher up than us.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Today we're going to be giving you a brief overview of our experience with Jersey Mike's. So my name is Tyler. I was the project manager for this group, and I plan on going to the University of Minnesota and majoring in finance. And Chloe Stillman, who is up there, unfortunately won't be able to make it today, but she was our research coordinator, and she's planning on going to the Ohio State University and majoring in marketing.
My name is Manit, and I serve the role of the communicator for this group, and I'll be attending the University of Minnesota this fall for a major in entrepreneurship. So, in the interest of providing a quick overview of our project client was Jersey Mike's, which was founded in the 1950s by Peter Cancro. And today, Jersey Mike's operates in almost 2,734 locations in the United States, and they're hoping to expand to an additional 297 locations. Our scope in the project was with the St. Louis Park location of Jersey Mike's specifically, and our first deliverable was to explore their current marketing strategies in place, and we did that from a local standpoint, but also from a corporate standpoint. Our next deliverable was to strategize new ways to improve the community engagement at Jersey Mike's St. Louis Park, and some of the ways that we came up with was number one, to do dedicated ad placement on Facebook and Instagram, and to provide free drinks to the students of St. Louis Park High School on football game days.
Now, one of the biggest challenges we faced as a group was effective communication. So because we had issues with initial meetings at the very start, it was hard to obtain relevant information in which we could, I guess, like continue that on with how we were formulating information. It was very difficult. And then another thing we lacked was effectively scheduling meetings. So because we were all very busy in high school and et cetera, it was very difficult for us to formulate a time where it worked for our client as well as us. So our timeline was overall shortened. And then another factor that like we kind of struggled with was our timeliness. So because again of our like jam-packed schedule, it was difficult for us to initiate a time in where we could formulate a time to meet up and like talk with our charter lead. It accounted for a lack of overall time and shortened our periods in which we could figure stuff out. And then our like other issues with following up with our charter and making sure that we understood our communication just throughout our team as well as our charter. And then lastly, our last challenge that we faced was our task delegations, which was just implementing a good way to formulate how to go about structuring what plans we used and other things. And then clarifying roles, there really wasn't a set structure or line in which we had like set ideas. So what that accounted for was overlapping of communicating with our charter lead and also like research conducted. So in the end, it was a little bit difficult, but we realize now that in the future, if we were to kind of set those like positions in stone, it would make it a lot easier for us in the end to go about completing the project in a more smooth manner.
So now here's some of the successes that we had as a group. We believe that we were successful in maintaining a positive relationship with our client, and we believe that a positive relationship lies in the quality of the communication, which for our group was timely. We made sure that our client didn't have to wait for long periods of time between a question or a concern and a response. Also, we believe that our communication was informative, so including all of the important detail without losing the conciseness of the email, obviously, to make sure that once a client has a response that they don't have any prolonging questions or concerns. And some tools that we use to make informative communication were tools like Gmail, because it makes sure that you're not missing any parts of the email, like a subject line or an attachment if you mention it earlier in the email. Finally, we believe that our communication was always centered around the convenience of our clients. And an example of this would be during the setup of a meeting to make sure that the time, the place, and the method of the meeting was always best suited for our client.
So here are some of the applications that we utilized through our experience with Jersey Mike's, and we wanted to correlate that with the concepts that we learned in class, starting off with conflict management. So there was two types of conflict managements that we learned throughout class or in Compass, one of them being A-type conflict management and C-type. C-type tends to be more productive because it focuses on individual performance and information, rather than type A, which more focuses on personal interests and problems within the workplace. And we really wanted to shine a light on that and made sure that when we were giving constructive feedback, that it was implemented more towards what we were outsourcing for the project, rather than personality issues or troubles within the group based on personal things. And then another thing that we really shined a light on was our charter accountability. We made sure that as individuals and as a team, we made sure to keep each other accountable and really make sure that with certain deadlines, we were meeting our needs and exceeding and making sure that things were done on time and communicating with our mentors, making sure everything was good. And then for our connections with real life, for team management, for task delegations, it was really just making sure that in the future, it's important to structure and have an outlined example of how people are going to go about doing their work, so there is no overlapping with things, and then holding each other accountable with performances is extremely beneficial, and it helps that working with different personalities and strengths within different people in a group, it's a skill that we will use not only in college, but kind of for the rest of your life and in the real world. And then within your presentation, just making sure everything is organized and good. And then we also were able to utilize things such as Trello, which is a management software that allowed us to get a kind of a in-depth look at how we will utilize technology in the future when we are organizing and structuring information.
And finally, here are some of the takeaways slash the lessons that we learned. All of these are kind of correlated, but the first thing we learned was the importance of time management slash conservation. All of the time that is allocated towards the project is really all of the time that you need. So even a couple days off or a week less will detriment the quality of the work completed. Next, we learned the importance of effective leadership, and we had established roles in the group, but there was a lack of a clear vision. And without a clear vision or a clear pathway in which work will be completed, work on the project continually stalls because no one knows what to do. Finally, we learned the importance of effective communication. I mentioned previously that we had good communication, but that doesn't necessarily mean effective communication. Effective communication would have been to know on the first day what are the end goals for this project, and that ties into all of the other points as well. If we know the end goals on the first day, then we have a clear pathway to do the things for the rest of the project, and that also helps us save time and complete the project in a timely manner. Thank you.
Hi there. We're the group that had JP4 as our company, and yeah, we're really excited to share our journey with you. So yeah, I'm Ben Petrak. I was the research lead, and I'm attending Iowa State next year, and I'm studying finance.
I'm Will Vansel from Skidmore College next year, studying economics. I was the communication of this project.
And my name is May, and I was the group manager, and I will be attending University of St. Thomas to study HR, I think.
So a little bit about JP4. JP4 is a nonprofit that's mission statement is to enrich the lives of youth in the underserved urban communities through healthy activities, healthy relationships, and healthy meals. And they achieve this via their summer camp and their after-school program called the Diamond Club, which if you see, you will see some pictures from the students of the Diamond Club on all the slides going forward. So yeah, our main deliverable was to help set JP4 up to launch a thank you card line that includes the drawings of the kids. And we achieved this by providing manufacturing options and then figuring out the logistics of like card sizes, card stock, stuff like that.
Our process. So we condensed our kind of whole project into 3 major steps. First being research, so lots of research in the card industry. I'm going to go homework, I'm sure you've heard of it by one of the codes. Research has a 51% market share over the code market, so trying to kind of emulate what they're doing is a big aspect for us. Furthermore, the Diamond Club, as Ben previously stated, this is the Diamond Club, which is a big component of JP4. It's the after-school program for kids who are about 8 to 10 years old. It's kind of fun to go there after school to work with them. So they kind of drew the cards. On the boards behind you, the 3 designs you can see are 3 sub-designs that will be sold on JP4's website in the future, all drawn by kids. And our third and final main component is kind of putting it all together. So these cards were drawn by kids in a short time frame, and we kind of compose them into these final selected choices. Our successes. So meeting the kids have a success in the fact that they drew pretty good colors. I was kind of impressed. Better than me at 10 years old in the Armstrong class. And then creating designs too was also interesting. Working with kind of graphic design, different elements, the typical business course, as the rest of the coursework was also intriguing for us. A nonprofit too, working with them, that was a special meeting that is just different than a regular company because it feels more meaningful, you feel more valued. Working with nonprofit, we should all opinion, and then we all kind of agree to very different personas as a group, so we really meshed together well. With different personalities, we came together to form a collaborative group that did pretty well in our project. Challenges. These are really important to note is the challenges kind of us to work forward on and grow from. This is what we really can take with us after the project has concluded. So alignment with our company. This is probably the most notable challenge or difficulty is it took probably a month of the 10 or so weeks to get actually set up as a group, which was very difficult and stressful for all of us. Lots of communication errors, truly on both ends, where we weren't fully sure what's going on. So that stage, lots of research, lots of action, which created a kind of condensed time frame for us to work in. And then relying on others, such as contract manufacturers, they were big in our project. They kind of followed the greeting cards and actually shipped them. It was difficult to get quotes from them. Is it take longer than you expect to reply? We sent too many emails and had really few responses, which is difficult to work with on their time frame.
And so working with a nonprofit is a whole other journey. And so we're going to share some of what we learned. And so in terms of applications to class, we learned that it is crucial to make sure that everyone is heard in your team, especially if you're managing the team. We also learned to know the kind of company that you're working with. So we worked, again, with a nonprofit. And so when deciding pricing, we decided to go with what's called like a feel-good strategy so we can boost the prices up a little bit. And then communicate professionally, look good, talk good, you know. And then overall, what we learned is to utilize each other's opinions, especially within the group. We're all valued. And then when in doubt, research. I mean, there's no problem with having backup facts, backup data. Connections to real life. Plan ahead. I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. I think we can all work on that a little bit. And then not to rush the process, especially if you're making connections and meeting clients. It is important not to make anyone feel rushed. And finally, our takeaways are to align on expectations early on, again, for that time management aspect. Bring each other's strengths out and understand what we all can do and to our best of our abilities. And ask for help, which is not an easy thing to do for a lot of people, and that was something that we learned to work on. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Our group had the incredible opportunity to work with Rocked Outdoor for our charter project, and we're really excited to share a little bit about our experience. And to introduce our team, my name is Samantha Johnson. I acted as a communicator for our group, and I will be attending Clemson University in the fall and studying business.
My name is Ryan O'Ketty, and I served as the project manager for this charter. And in the fall, I'll be attending the University of St. Thomas to study finance.
And I'm Elise James. I acted as quality control for our team, and I'll be attending the University of Iowa to study marketing in the fall. So what is Rocked Outdoor? Rocked is a small local business founded in 2019 by Deb Seifert, and they sell premium dog gear.
So Rocked stands for the owner, Deb Seifert's 4 sons, Ryan, Owen, Cole, and Tommy. And what they want to do is they want to rock the industry of broken and cheap dog goods with their premium yet affordable ones.
They sell a variety of products, including dog collars, leashes, toys, and beds. Now moving into our deliverables, our first deliverable was to create a social media strategy for Rocked. And for this, we created a social media playbook that includes all of our research on the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, as well as additional research on things like how to respond to negative comments on social media. Our second deliverable was how to promote the brand through interaction with their followers on social media. So for this, we created giveaway examples as well as comment interaction examples. Our third deliverable was creating a variety of post examples. So we created general posts as well as both highlights and story examples. Our fourth deliverable was how to create consistency as a brand. So we created a brand guideline for this. And lastly, our final deliverable was creating our final presentation with recommendations for future action.
So now going into some of our work product, here are a few examples that our team created. This included our social media posting calendars, Instagram and Facebook highlights, comment interactions, our social media playbook, giveaways, and our brand guideline. And now we'll each go into our individual favorite pieces from our work.
So my favorite piece for this work was creating Instagram and Facebook stories. So what they do is they really give you that creative freedom. In this example, they have the Who's the Ultimate Pup poll, and not only is it cute, it's creative, but also uses an interactive feature that's offered on both of these platforms.
My favorite piece was the giveaway examples that we created. I really liked the creativity and design that went into creating these examples, as well as the research that went into figuring out the best rules to have for the giveaways.
My favorite piece was our Instagram and Facebook story highlights. For example, our bestsellers, you would tap through and see all of the products, and I think it was a fun and unique way to showcase Rock's products.
As for our challenges, I think the first challenge personally for me was the owner's dog, which serves as their secondary logo. It doesn't really like me. But as for the project, it was creating the new deliverables. So the original deliverables that were provided to us were not necessarily good for both us and the company's follow through. So we had to take a step back, meet with marketing professionals, and really assess Rock's needs to devise new ones.
And our second challenge was devising the project strategy. So our deliverables were very open-ended and had a lot of room for interpretation within them. So we really had to think big picture about our project at the beginning and also create a lot of smaller and more specific deadlines to ensure we stayed on schedule throughout our project.
And a third challenge was our social media playbook. Because there is so much research out there, it was difficult to find similar research across all platforms, as well as finding sources that we knew were reliable and we could trust.
As for some of our successes, our work product, I'd say, was a big success for us. So our work product was the bulk of our project, and it had a variety of post examples and our social media playbook.
Another big success was our collaboration as a team. We were all able to expand beyond our assigned roles and really grow and ask questions with each other.
And our final success was our implementation. So our charter sponsors already implemented a lot of our work and recommendations. So she already has our highlights posted to both her Instagram and Facebook platforms, as well as for her website. She's made some design changes, as well as adding additional payment methods that we recommended.
Through our journey in Compass, we've applied many things through class, such as time management, especially on software such as ClickUp was ours. I know there was a few. We also learned how to communicate effectively with others, both in person and through online, such as email. And then also we've learned how to maintain and establish a sense of professionalism with both ourselves and others.
As for real life connections, as most of you know, everyone in the Compass program is partnered with a mentor. So we really learned the importance of utilizing our mentor for both our charter project as well as any class content. Our second connection was our business and marketing skills that we learned throughout Compass, as well as us will be pursuing careers in business. So this will be very helpful for college and also our careers. And then finally, our last connection was all of the organization and planning skills that we learned, as Ryan mentioned. We utilize a project management tool, ClickUp, so this will be very helpful again in college and afterwards, and we will be able to utilize our experience with this tool.
And finally, our lessons learned and takeaways: remaining flexible, especially when revising our original deliverables, staying detail-oriented, especially in our work product and creating our posts, and finally, communicating and asking for help within our group and with each other, as well as teachers and our charter sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here today. We are the Wayzata Education Fund Charter Group. So for starters, my name is Sydney Pavitz, and my role in this charter was the communicator. Next year, I'll be attending the University of Kansas with a major in marketing. Unfortunately, our team member Ella Podiak could not make it today due to a prior commitment, but her role in this project was the conflict mediator. Next year, she'll be attending the University of Denver with a major in marketing and management.
My name is Paige Pavitz, and I was the project lead for this project. I will also be attending the University of Kansas next year, and I will be majoring in psychology and business. So, what is the Wayzata Education Fund? The Wayzata Education Fund is a nonprofit organization known as WEF. Their mission is to provide grants for innovative and curricular projects across Wayzata Public Schools. The two goals that they had for us was to first gain 100% awareness within our community, as well as to raise $40,000 annually.
For this project, we were tasked with 5 deliverables. The first was the Wild for Wayzata Gala marketing campaign, which consisted of posting pictures from the gala event. The second was the Past Grants campaign, which was focused on educating the Wayzata Education Fund audience on the past grants they've given and how it's impacting students today. We also facilitated and executed the Highlight a Hero program, which educates and recognizes teachers, coaches, and staff within the Wayzata Public Schools district. We also awarded the grant winners from this year, and finally, we provided some marketing material for the fund to use for next year's gala, as well as providing some recommendations for their future.
We were tasked to create 4 to 6 social media posts for each campaign. This is an example of our past grant campaign where we highlighted grant recipients from last year. We strive to showcase how students have been directly impacted through these grants, through student testimonials and Instagram Reel, various photos, and more.
We also spent a lot of time in the Highlight a Hero program. We created several social media posts to get the word out, as well as creating flyers, brochures, newsletters, and more to make the whole district aware of this event. Once we received the orders from everybody in the district, we created little bags that included a nothing bunk cake, a personalized certificate, and a personalized brochure made by us from the Education Fund that will inform the teachers about how to apply for a grant in the future. Once we did that, we hand-delivered each bag to the recipients throughout the district, and it was super rewarding and impactful to see the impact we were making firsthand. Next, we'll hear from Ella, who will talk about our challenges and successes throughout our project.
We did not have a lot of challenges with this project. Probably the biggest challenge we did have, though, was the printer. We had a lot of physical marketing material, including the brochures and certificates that were included in every Highlight a Hero package, along with 80 physical posters that were put along the high school to promote Highlight a Hero. When the printer stopped working, we had to use our resources to find an alternate solution, as well as outsourcing our production of brochures. Another problem that we had was with the Troy the Trojan suit. Because of the broken fan, nobody was able to wear the Troy the Trojan suit, so we had to take it upon one of us to wear it. So I had to wear the Troy the Trojan suit with no fan in it for about an hour while we presented grants to teachers, but it was worth it because of the excitement we got from all of the students. And then some of the successes that we had in our project was probably the Northwoods Carnival. We attended the Northwoods Carnival to promote Highlight a Hero, and we were able to talk to 72 families. We engaged kids by playing mini putt-putt, and that seemed to really get them over while we could talk to the parents about what Highlight a Hero is and what Wayzata Education Fund is. Another thing that was successful in our project was our level of organization. We achieved this by using a Google Doc that had a shared calendar for all of our site visits, all of the assignments that were due, as well as campaigns that were due within our project. Additionally, we used a to-do list with drop-downs provided by Google Docs that allowed us to show where our projects were in progress, who was supposed to be doing it, and what it was about, just so we could keep on task and hold each other accountable to make sure that we made that strict deadline for the posting schedules.
Now we'll be talking about our journey. So applications to class, we learned early on how critical it was to collaborate with one another in order to be successful. We also learned how to organize, plan, and stay professional throughout this project.
We also had several connections to real life. The first was event planning, specifically for the Highlight a Hero campaign. We had to figure out where we were going to package everything, who was going to help us, and ultimately when we were going to find times in our school day to deliver these cakes. We also had a lot of time learning about organization. As Paige mentioned, for each campaign we had 4 to 6 social media posts we needed to complete, as well as many other tasks that we needed to do. And on top of that, we had everything going on in Compass and our other classes, so we had to make sure we were staying very organized so we could get everything done on time. We also learned the importance of flexibility. Throughout this project, we quickly realized that not everything was going to go according to plan, so we had to adapt and rise to the occasion.
For our lessons learned and takeaways, we learned how beneficial it was to prioritize our time In order to be successful and achieve our deliverables, we also utilized our resources and tapped into our network and used our mentors a lot throughout this project. And finally, we all had to lean on each other and pull out each other's strengths so that we could be successful throughout the project. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, everyone. We are extremely excited to share with you our journey as we work closely with the company LoopTech. So first off, to begin, my name is Nabil Abdullahi. I was the group lead, and I will be attending the University of Minnesota in the fall to study in management information systems and economics.
I'm Gus Hyman. I served as the research manager during this project, and in the fall, I'll be attending the University of Florida and studying finance.
I'm Ella Freeman. I was the creative director, and in the fall, I'll be attending Miami University and studying accounting.
I'm Daniel Grubersick. I was the lead communicator, and next fall I'm heading to the University of Minnesota to study finance.
So first off, just to give a brief overview on who LubeTech exactly is, they are a leader in fluid technology and oil and lubricant-related services. And they have 3 different divisions that range from products, services, and also their private label manufacturing. So what this means is they are a private label manufacturer for large original equipment manufacturers within the power sports industry, specifically towards oils and lubricants. So they do a lot of the behind the scenes work, and they do create the oils and also create the packaging and labels for those companies.
When we started this project, we were given 3 main deliverables. One was to create a smart sheet of the 4 main product lines, that being snow, UTV, motorcycle, and marine. Next was to create a presentation about our data and research that we conducted, and finally to recommend future action for LoopTech.
So in terms of work we accomplished, on the left is the Smart Sheet. So this served as the main data collection software that we used. So throughout gathering items to document, we documented parent company, brand name, price, blend type, etc., and gathered 207 total products, which we used for our final presentation. And then on the right are some of the slides we used in that presentation. So we gathered data, information regarding the industry, as well as our recommendation for future action, which we presented to the company.
Some challenges that we faced along the way. First being that we had to kind of step out of our comfort zones. We had to cold call a lot of stores within the Midwest, as well as interview a lot of employees and customers of stores. Next was going into the project, we had very limited initial knowledge. None of us really knew too much about the motorsports oil market at all, so that was new for us. At first, we kind of struggled with the free structure and open-endedness of the project. We procrastinated a little at the start, so that was a bit of a challenge for us. And finally, our lack of customer and employee participation. When we tried to interview a lot of customers, a lot of them didn't really want to be interviewed by high schoolers because, I don't know, they just kind of want to get their product and get in and out of the store. So that was one of our challenges.
Now, speaking on the various successes that we had throughout our project, so the first big one was the division of the workload throughout our entire project. So in the power sports industry, we further divided into the 4 main sectors. So me personally, I took on the UTV sector, and then Gus, he took on motorcycles. Ella, she took on the marine sector, and then Dan took on snow. So this division allowed us to cohesively work throughout it and be as efficient as we could. And connected to this, we had a laid out plan for all our input collection processes for our entire research. So this connected into our 3 different methodologies, which was going into our online research and going into a lot of just different websites and research that we could get from different sources online. And then we had in-store research, so going into different dealerships and servicing centers throughout the Twin Cities area. And then finally, we had our interviews and testimonials that we took from various customers and also employees in the power sports industry. Another big success that we did have was the wide array of data sources that we did get. So throughout our entire research, we each compiled a total of 40 different sources that we took an in-depth look at and to get as much information that we could. And then finally, the display of our information in our final presentation was very cohesive, and it was exactly what they were looking for in the end. So that was a big success that we did have.
And now going into our journey, we'll be starting with our applications to class. Having a very data-driven project, we had to learn how to utilize quality data. As a group, we had to organize an effective work team, and we did this by using our DISC personality assessment to put each person into the most effective roles. Our takeaways from the class and our project is to know your audience. We also learned that communication creates success, whether that be within our group, but also with our teachers and with Loop Tech. And finally, we learned how to pursue research from multiple angles and utilize all of our resources.
So in terms of lessons we learned both from this project and the class overall, we really got to embrace freedom in this class. So throughout the project, we had very open-ended goals that we could accomplish, but they didn't tell us how they wanted those goals accomplished. As well as in the class, there was lots of time given to work on this, work on meeting with your mentor, the various different tasks of this class. So you really had to manage what you wanted to do when, which leads me into my next point of working efficiently. Because with so many different aspects of this class and this project to worry about, you really need to make sure that you were staying on top of things and getting things done in a timely fashion. And then finally, in terms of lessons learned, we needed quality research and you needed to have something to support everything you said. So we were really challenged throughout with, if we made a claim, we needed data and evidence to support that. And it's not just one piece of evidence, you need to build layers. So layer up your information in order to ensure that you know what you're talking about. And then finally, connections to real life. So we got to professionally conduct ourselves often in this class, whether it was going into these meetings with this company or meeting with your mentor or just on a site visit. You had to walk around as if you were somebody actually within this business world. And in terms of setting and meeting deadlines, within this project especially, there was a lot of different pieces you needed to accomplish, and the only deadline you had was your end date. So you needed to make sure you were staying on top of things and getting things done proactively. And then finally, playing to our strengths. So in order to accomplish this project as best as we can and to attack the class, we really got to see how we work, and we got to play to those strengths in order to accomplish the work as effectively as we could.
Thank you.
We did our charter project with EPS and we're excited to share our experience working with them.
My name is Anushka Kad, and I'll be going to Georgia Tech next year studying mechanical engineering.
My name is Yuan Joseph. I'll be attending the University of Notre Dame next year to study finance and ACMS.
My name is Bella Underhill. I'll be going to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville to study finance. My name is Lauren Scallard, and I'm going to Indiana University next year to study accounting and finance. So for our deliverables, we conducted market research, infrastructure and logistics, scalability and growth potential, as well as competitor analysis and potential locations where EPS could expand. From there, we broke our research up into possible places that EPS could use acquisition, as well as places that they could organically grow. Just so you know a little bit about EPS, EPS is a local company headquartered in Chaska, Minnesota. They offer electrical, fiber optic, and low voltage services to the Twin Cities area, as well as central and southern Minnesota. Additionally, EPS is family-oriented and woman-owned by Carla Struble.
So as Bella mentioned, we broke our research down into two different aspects, one being organic growth and the other being sales and acquisitions. In terms of organic growth, me and Anuj catered our research by doing a SWOT analysis of our two major cities, Sioux Falls and Des Moines. By looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of these two cities, we were able to figure out if they were a viable location for potential expansion. In terms of the sales and acquisitions, Lauren and Bella kind of focused their research by doing cold calling to various different businesses and figuring out if those businesses would be willing to either sell or be acquired by EPS. And so to effectively summarize the results of our research, we conducted a BVOA, and a BVOA stands for Best Value Option Analysis, and it's a way for us to qualitatively analyze our different research and show to EPS that there's different categories where we're ranking our different cities and why one city may have strengths over another city, but it just effectively shows that research that we conducted.
Taking a look at some of the challenges we faced during our charter, the first was understanding the industry. So we were taking a look at the electrical service industry, one that we were not very familiar with. We had to understand the distinction between competitors, who could be a potential partner, and really understand the players in the industry. Another challenge we faced was communication, especially with acquisitions. We did a lot of cold calling and got a lot of hang-ups, or put on hold a lot of times. In addition, in regards to acquisitions, there's a lot of confidentiality in the process. So when we were researching potential acquisitions for EPS to make, All of these companies were confidential, so we had limited information we could provide EPS with. Another challenge we faced was effectively displaying that research. So we had a lot of data that we gathered, especially in the SWOT analysis, and being able to display that in a way which EPS could use and understand was a big challenge for us.
For our successes, we had great communication with EPS and in our team. We had a couple great meetings with EPS where we were able to share our research in a presentation format, and we were able to get feedback from them on what they wanted. And then that kind of leads me into the agility during our research. After getting that feedback from them, we were able to apply that to our research and make sure that we were giving them the best possible product. And we also were very effective at meeting deadlines and making sure that we got our research done on time and able to present it for them.
So now looking at the application to class, there were various things that we learned in our Compass program that we were able to apply to our charter project. One being economic policies like interest rates and tax policies. As a business, if you look to enter into a new city, it's important for you to understand the economic environment that makes that city a viable opportunity for you. And so with that, we had to look at Sioux Falls and Des Moines' interest rate policies as well as their tax policies. Another thing that we did in class that helped us in our charter project was a DISC assessment. The DISC assessment was like a personality test that identified each of our individuals' strengths and weaknesses, and using this assessment, we were able to figure out an effective way that we could work together as a team to put out the best work for EPS. Now moving on to the lessons that we learned through this project, the two lessons being developing a business case and performing market research kind of go hand in hand. Over this past semester, we dove into various different research, going from looking at EPS's competitors, target market, as well as that economic environment that I mentioned previously. And by doing this various different research, we're able to figure out this business case that we presented to EPS. And this is something that we think will help us down the line because business cases and doing this research and reporting is something that you'll see in every sort of job that you go down in the future.
Some key takeaways we had from the process was the importance of timeliness. We had to hit those deliverables, make those pitch decks and gather that research for EPS on a strict deadline and before meetings with them. In addition, we learned the importance of adaptability. We met with EPS often throughout the course of our charter, and each time we met, when we presented our research, they would have a different idea of where our deliverables might go. So our deliverables were constantly shifting throughout our project. This meant that we'd be able to adapt that in our work. In addition, we learned the importance of the decision-making process. As we were working, we had to decide what decisions we can make ourselves and what decisions we should reach out to EPS for to get their input on as well. In addition, we identified many connections to real life in our charter. The first was in building a professional network. We were working with the CEO and the leadership board of EPS. All these people had much more experience in the electrical service industry than we did. So we had to make sure we did our research so that we could come prepared to have meaningful discussions with them. In addition, we learned the importance of working in a business environment. We had to make sure that we could perform adequate market research and have presentations that could actually be useful to EPS and their leadership board.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking about our experience working with a company called Youth Prize. Just a little bit about ourselves. I'm Noah Roberts. I was the communicator for our team, and I will be attending the University of Wisconsin-Madison next year, and I'll be majoring in consumer behavior and marketplace studies.
My name is Tyler Baker. I'm going to The Ohio State University next year, and I was the group leader, and I am studying finance.
My name is Gavin Allard. I will be going to University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire to study marketing.
Yeah, just a little bit about Youth Prize. So Youth Prize is a Minnesota-based nonprofit that works directly in the legislature. They have lobbyists that work for them that work on a variety of bills that are supporting Minnesota's underprivileged youth, including indigenous communities, but overall just all of the kids within Minnesota. So at one time, Youth Prize works on 20 to 25 bills, and they only have one lobbyist. So they kind of asked for our help, and we focused on driver's education. So we were focused on trying to bring driver's education, which is very privatized within Minnesota right now, and bring it back into public schools, something that it used to be historically. And that is what we worked on, and you can see their mission statement right above. And then so in terms of what we were actually tasked to do, so first we did a research report. Our research report, we went very in depth into the history of driver's education, not only within Minnesota, but within the entire United States. Most of our information came from MDE, the Minnesota Department of Education. What's very nice about doing a project like this is that there was a lot of public information. Next, we moved on to our business case. Our business case was we came up with different kind of alternative options that Youth Prize could take. And inside of that, we made a communication plan so that they were able to, with a lobby plan, so they could know how to let people know about their projects. And then lastly, in terms of promoting opportunities, we presented our project. We practiced it a couple times, and then we presented it to the CEO of Youth Prize and a couple other members of their board.
Yeah, so what Noah was saying, above you can see we made a business case. In that we went in depth in the lobby plan, alternative options on whether not just getting funding from that legislator, but also getting funding from either insurance companies or also a pilot program. And then in the research report, it's like a 20-page research report. We went in depth on the barriers, the essential components, and then also we conducted a SWOT analysis of the company as well. So for some challenges with this company, we had a slow start. All three of us are pretty big procrastinators, so it's pretty hard to get going. But once we kind of fit the pieces in the puzzle, it went really well together. And also with the cost, there was lots of inputs and resources to go into this, and it was kind of hard evaluating, what's the average cost of driver's ed throughout Minnesota and all that stuff, and putting that together and really creating a big Excel sheet and figuring out and determining that cost altogether. And then also the communication. There's many leads in this project, so it's pretty hard to determine, who to communicate with. And we had pretty good communication as well, which you'll see on the next slide.
Yeah, so some of our teamwork, it starts with having good teamwork within our charter group. So within it, we had separate roles, but we all were working together to achieve a common goal in the end. And by this, we used the communication app Trello. Additionally, we also had, all three of us had genuine interest within Youth Prize. We all wanted to get those who can't afford like the high cost of private driver's education, finding them public driver's education options that are cheaper at alternative prices. Additionally, for preparation, we had in-depth research reports that highlighted the costs associated with public and private driver's education. And then we utilized our resources. We asked the business teachers if we needed any help or clarification along the way. So continuing on with our journey, how we related it back to class was through planning and organizing. We set up dates with our charter organization as well as the teachers to make sure that we were on track. We dressed business professional every day and showed up to class. And then also in Compass Economics, we learned more about the bridge between business and politics. Finally, for takeaways, what we took away most was through communication, whether that be through phone calls, emails, texting, we all got it done. Time management, like I said with Trello, we made sure to stay on task throughout the project. And then last but not least, creativity was key within our project. If we saw something that we liked that Youth Prize didn't have on their deliverables, we made sure to include it, as they might find it something interesting that they can use for the future.
Yeah, continuing with our journey, as we said on the second slide, we all had different roles within the group. And the way that we came up with those roles is that, as previous groups have mentioned today, everyone within Compass takes a personality test called a DISC analysis test. And what that does is it lets you know kind of what you lead with. So are you more of an analytical thinker, or are you someone who's more of a people person? And so we all lead with different colors is what they're considered. And so Gavin is more of an, he's an analytical, right? And so that's why he was head of research. And then Tyler was our group lead because he's really someone that tries to get everything done. He made sure that we stayed on task. And then lastly, I'm more of a people person, so that's why I was a communicator. So that's kind of where we started with. And then as we move forward, we relied on those qualities that we all have. We relied on Tyler to make sure we kept going. We relied on me to make sure that everything was communicated smoothly. And we relied on Gavin to make sure all of our research was in one spot. As always, you also have to stay flexible. On the day of the project, we learned that one of the members of Youth Prize, the lobbyist, obviously very, very busy with the legislative session. She was unable to make it. And so we kind of had to change what information we were going to share because she really knew a lot about the bill and about the project we worked on. And then we had to kind of, maybe, I wouldn't say dumb it down, but we had to give more information to the people that didn't know as much. Also understanding your audience. We both were dealing with trying to make sure that we were effectively communicating with our teachers, while at the same time when creating our communication plan, we wanted to effectively communicate with youth, with people who are 9th graders, 10th graders. It's very different if you're trying to communicate with them versus trying to communicate with our teachers. And then lastly, we used outside resources. We made lots of calls to, there's only 23 schools in all of Minnesota that use public driver's education, so we called New Prague. We really used our resources, and we continued to network. And we did all of those things to make sure that we had a successful journey as we moved forward and got to our final project.
Thank you.
No. All right, that's it. No more presentations. But before you go, Juan's going to come up and say a couple things to everybody. You just saw and heard that we got to work with 10 amazing companies this year, different types of projects, allow kids to use their strengths, put them out of their comfort zone a little bit and try different things. They did a fabulous job. All the projects did work really well. Tim and I are grateful to work in a school district that provides opportunities like this, that values opportunities like this, and then provides a schedule that works for opportunities like this so that we can do this with students. Most teachers only have the opportunity to work with kids for 9 weeks, sometimes 18 weeks, and we get them for a semester, 3 hours a day. And it's really fun, and you can really build some good relationships with those kids. We are so happy to see some alumni from the class back this year. Thank you for coming out. We're hoping that all of you come back next year and watch the presentations and see what the next year's group is going to go through in this process. And we may not say it enough, but Tim and I are truly blessed to have worked with these students, and you've inspired us along the way, so it's been a lot of fun. With that, Juan's going to finish us off.
All right, so first of all, as we can start to conclude this showcase, I want to say thank you to everyone that made this Compass experience possible. To our 32 different mentors from throughout the community who took time out of their busy professional lives to help each and every one of us one-on-one whenever we needed that help. Thank you. To the various different businesses who are willing to lend out a helping hand to us and give us that first-hand professional experience. Thank you. To Mr. Torter, who was like the engine of our Compass experience, who made sure that everything was set in stone, that we'd have our scheduled site visits, that we'd have our own mentors. Thank you to Mr. Torter, and obviously to our wonderful teachers, Mr. Masters and Mr. Kimbler, for being the backbone of our class. Not only did they help and support us throughout the entire semester, but they'd also be the ones who would always crack up a joke, even if at times it could get them fired, but nonetheless, making sure that there's always a laugh on all of our faces. So thank you to you guys. And finally, you guys, our parents, our supporters from back home, who've been pushing us since day one to become better versions of ourselves, both inside the classroom and out. So right now, just heard Mr. Kimber kind of talk about what Compass has been like from a teacher's perspective. But I want to take a second to talk about what Compass has been like as a student. Coming into second semester, we were 32 individual students looking to find our own in our own professional journeys and maybe hoping that Compass could be a stepping stone within that journey. But now that we're nearing the end, I can confidently say that Compass has been more than just that. Through our various different mentor meetings, our site visits, our guest speakers, as well as obviously our charter project, we have gone through so much together as a team. We've taken very valuable lessons that will bring down with us at college and further. And beyond that, we've overcame so much adversity, but pushed each other as a team to become better versions, which I think is something that I really have to say thank you to Compass for. So now, before I wrap up, I want to share one memory that has kind of stuck with me throughout this entire semester. Leading up to our first site visit, which was like a boot camp where we're going to do team building activities, the week leading up, Mr. Masters and Mr. Kimbler basically drilled it into our heads that we cannot be late under any sort of circumstance. Unfortunately for my group, which was me, Nabil, TK, and V, quite literally everything went wrong on the drive there. We nearly got into 2 accidents. As we were merging off the freeway, we nearly got driven off the shoulder. And worst of all, once we walked in, about 5 minutes late, we ran into an angry Mr. Kimbler. And for those of you who don't know Mr. Kimbler, that's probably scarier than your greatest nightmare. And so I remember at that time, first of all, thinking that this was going to be a super long semester, but beyond that, just wondering if Compass was the right decision for me. But now that it's all said and done, I can confidently say that I couldn't have been more wrong. Through Compass, we've met people we never thought we would meet. We've gone to businesses we never thought we'd visit. And most importantly, we've gone to these networking events that have opened doors to new opportunities that most kids our age would never even think about having. And so for that, I once again have to say thank you so much for Wayzata Compass. Thank you guys for coming. And finally, I heard we have a big game today, so Wolves in 4. Thank you.